Alright, I think I'm live. Let me just double check and we'll get started in a second. Yeah, looks like I'm live. That's great. Alright. I'm just going to get the link ready and share it, and then starting at about 8, I'm going to read the first 5 chapters. Having a little bit of trouble with my camera stand, so if you see me moving the camera about, I just made it worse. Of course I did. Hold. Better, worse, we don't know. Okay. Get the link ready. Almost there. I'm typing the post. It's very professional. I'm a professional Twitch streamer, in case you didn't realize. No, I'm not. I think that worked. We're going to go double check. This will be the worst part of the VOD later if I come back to rewatch it. That fan sound is my laptop. I'm apparently asking too much of it. The camera keeps moving. Hold on, I will fix it. Oh my gosh. Okay, note to self, I need a new camera stand. I had this all set up before I went live, I swear. And the camera stand has decided that it's going to do whatever it wants. If there's a problem with audio or syncing anything, you'll have to let me know in the chat. Live, of course, only. Getting ready to start. I'm going to give it all the way till 8, of course. That's when I announce the time would start. I'm here in my beautiful home library, and by library I mean a spare bedroom that I fill full of books and comic books and junk. have here both the proof. It says like not for resale here. The paperback will look a little different. It'll be a different size. It will also have better margins. The margins here on the cover image were really bad. Also, the interior margins were wrong. We've got just ample space at the sides, top, and especially the bottom. I mean, more than an inch of wasted space. But, I mean, that's why you print a proof. So you can go ahead and fix those issues before the actual paperback comes. Now, the other thing is, too, after I fixed the errors, I did not go back and order another proof, because this was already the second one. We had a cover failure the first time. So, right now, this is the closest thing I've got to the real deal, and it's not even it. It's a half-inch size difference on the sides and top, and all the margin errors. And, you know, the proof banner there. I do also have the first cover that I did not like and we did not go with. The size is actually okay, but that's the first cover. You know, pretty similar. We've got the car theme. You can't even see the title there, and then my name in purple at the bottom. So overall, I definitely think this more distorted one. Of course, you can see it there beside my face, and if you're watching live on Twitch. But it's got like a distorted effect, kind of like almost a rainbow effect. The lighting's not great. You're better off looking at the image I posted. But my dad took that picture for me. His friend owns this car. It is a 1964 Ford Galaxy. And it looks like if I do the first 5 chapters, you're going to get the first little pinch of pages there. Just enough to hopefully pique your interest, have some fun. My camera stand fell. Hold on. Hold on. I don't know what I'm going to do about this camera situation here. Hold on. It's a little bit better, although you are lower and closer to me, which is not ideal. Hold on, we'll fix it. I know you're probably getting seasick at the moment. Oh man, this camera. Oh man. I mean, the quality's fine, but the stand, ooh, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Alright, that might stay, it may not. I may have to make some constant adjustments over there. Hopefully it won't fall all the way down again like it just did. But if it did, you just go for a little ride and I'll pick you back up. It's getting to be 8. Let's see. Okay. I posted that we'd start at 8. Give my friends and fam a couple more minutes, people who don't use Twitch regularly like I do. Feel free to chat, of course. I will try to glance up from the book as I'm reading to check. I do have it here in front of me. Camera's over here, laptop's over here. So I'll be able to see that coming in. Looking a little disheveled. That's alright. Struggling author. Okay. You can see the actual cover here with the not for real sale proof label. I do not have a real copy yet. It's still coming in the mail. Honestly, it would be faster if I ordered it full price than to wait for my author copies. Then we've got the cover that didn't make it. So, I mean, I think it's interesting. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. You literally cannot even see the title. I can't even get the lighting. Maybe there you can see it, maybe not. Anyway, that's the one we didn't go with. Same card, different picture entirely. Alright, I'm not going to wait around. I'm going to read nice and slow, keep an eye on the chat if anything appears. I want to look back on the VOD later and not hate it. So, here we go. Shake the Chill, released today on paperback. Ebook coming 12/5. Pre-orders are available. That's your thing. This is my second book, I forgot to say. The first one's called The Blackbird Hearth. It is also available Amazon, wherever you buy books. That one's been out about 4 years. I wrote it during 2013, the first time I attempted NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. That's where you write 1,667, I hope I've got that number right, words in a day, all throughout the month of November, with a community of people supporting you as well. Forums, regional groups. And at the end of November, if you complete that word count goal every single day, then you've got 50,000 words to start with. So that's where I started with The Blackbird Hearth. It took me 2 or 3 years to write and rewrite, edit, let friends and family give me their feedback, and then publish. This one is kind of a similar story. I attempted this one over the course of 3 different NaNoWriMos. I would start and put it down. I would get halfway through and back out. I don't know why it took me so long to power through and make this particular story work for me for NaNoWriMo, but I'm glad it finally did. I think I got to the 50,000 word mark, like you're supposed to for NaNoWriMo, for this story in 2017. Then again, it took me 2 or 3 years. I've got a full-time job. I've got eclectic hobbies to then edit it, feedback from friends and family, the support from the NaNoWriMo forums, and then this one took way more cover trial and error than the Blackbird Hearth did. Blackbird Hearth, I had 2 cover choices, piece of cake. None of my friends even voted for the other cover. It was unanimous. This one I went back and forth, back and forth. I'm glad with what we settled on here, but I do have, a couple others saved to my computer that I will look at wistfully. Maybe as the years pass, maybe if there's a 5th anniversary, I will swap out the cover and get one of the other really beloved covers. But yeah, my dad took that picture, and it's a car that a friend of his owns. No spoilers for what it means to the story, of course, but it's not autobiographical by any stretch of the imagination. Alright, I'll keep an eye on my Twitch and my wiggling camera, and I'll just get started. The dedication for this one says, "This one's for me, the girl I was, the girl I am, and the girl I could be." When you are used to living in an apartment building, the quietness of a house can be scary. I tried leaving a radio on at night, but then I worried about what sounds I could be missing. The summer heat was just starting to fade, so I found some comfort in leaving the windows open and letting my ceiling fans and crickets drown out the night's quiet. After a recent inheritance from my deceased grandparents, I bought this cute older house. It has high, peaking arches and a large bay window. It looks just like the little house from Disney's movie Up, except my gray exterior is in need of some serious care. I thought I was making a wise choice for my future. I moved in August. Everything seemed fine. My father helped me move in my few belongings, fix the leaking kitchen sink. He said I'd bought a fine old home, and then he wrote me a list of things I might not know to check. Stuff like check the hot water heater every 6 months or so, cover the exterior faucets to keep the pipes from freezing, and then I was here, all alone. Repainting the mailbox was fun. I thought 3410 was boring, so I painted Ellie Bardwell, my name, across the side. August faded into September. September became October. October 15th was the first day that my little house felt too cold for comfort. I called my dad and asked him how to start the fireplace. He gave me instructions and said that he'd seen some firewood left from the last resident in the storage room in my basement. I didn't care much for my basement. I already felt silly having a 2-story house for just myself, let alone a half-finished basement. With my broom as a spiderweb defense system, I headed to the basement. At the bottom of the steps, just to my right, was the designated laundry space. I wasn't using it. My tiny stacking washer and dryer from my apartment fit into a nook on the top floor of the house. Space for a rec room off to my left, space for additional bedrooms were behind me. The storage room was right in front. I knocked a spiderweb away from the door frame and pushed the door open with a loud squeak. I was suddenly frightened. No explanation, nothing there to startle me, just a sick sense of dread came over me. I wanted to be anywhere but this storage room. I gave the room a hard look. It was practically empty, just the firewood and a couple of garden tools. With 3 logs on my arm, I had to abandon my broom. I walked up the stairs. I felt like someone was watching me, and I hated it. I felt so silly practically running away from my own basement. I kept reminding myself how ridiculous I was being. There was nothing in the basement to be frightened of, and acting this way at my age was unacceptable. After successfully starting my fireplace, I remembered the lights I'd left on and the broom I'd abandoned in the basement. My brother was planning to come over the next day, and I briefly considered leaving this chore to him. Chanting, "You're being ridiculous, it's just a basement," to myself, I went back down. With my broom rescued, I reached in to close the storage room door. I saw it. A figure in the corner. It was still dark. It looked to have red, glowing lightning bolts on its shape. Its shape was human, but larger and darker. I didn't yell, but I did inhale sharply. A gasping sound escaped my lips, and I swear the dark figure jumped as if I had frightened it instead of the other way around. My already swinging arm completed the intended task of closing the door. I flicked on the heavy light switch as I ran and told myself I'd never return to that storage room alone. I didn't sleep well that night. I'd never believed in the supernatural, but I couldn't explain what I had seen. The next day, I got up earlier than usual and got out of the house. It just felt like the right thing to do. I strolled the art supply store, looking at aisles I'd seen a million times before, just to not be at home. I ate lunch alone at a little soup and sandwich place. I thought about going back home, but I still felt afraid. On the way, I stopped at a hardware store and bought a deadbolt lock. Once home, I turned on my TV to a happy show at a high volume and waited for my brother Luke to arrive. We tried to see each other at least once a month and catch up, but I'd never been more excited to see him. When I heard his truck rumble into the driveway, I went out to the porch to greet him. He had flowers with him. Housewarming gift. He handed them over. I was going to ring the doorbell and everything, he said. I teased him about how he had never rung any doorbell of mine, and how the next time he would come by, I'd probably find him already in my kitchen stealing snacks. He squeezed me in a big bear hug before stomping in, tracking the mud in with him. "Real nice place you got here, Ellie," he wondered aloud, shaking my door frames and shifting his weight around to find the squeaky floorboards. "Are you mad I didn't let you take a look first?" I asked Luke. "No, it's not like your one and only sibling is a contractor or anything," he grinned. "If there's anything wrong, you'd just fix it for me, wouldn't you?" I grinned back. "Sure thing, Ellie." I grabbed us each a beer and we sat at my little kitchen table. I see the list forming in Luke's eyes, so I spoke first. "So, what needs fixing?" He looked up from his vacant expression with a smirk. "Oh, not much." He took a swig from his beer. "Just all the siding, your backsplash, the majority of the light fixtures, but I haven't seen the other floors of the house yet." I showed Luke around the rest of the house. The ground floor had just the foyer, staircase, living room, 1 bathroom, kitchen and dining room. The second floor was the master bedroom with a half bath and 1 other bedroom. The nook for my washer and dryer and a large linen closet completed it. Luke complained again about the light fixtures and the light switches. He suggested that I let him, or at least an electrician, look the place over. I told him I'd think about it. Back downstairs, he inspected my fireplace but didn't say anything. In the mirror over the mantel, we looked like a pair of brunette Vikings, both a little too tall and a little too broad. "So the basement is half-finished?" he asked. There goes my camera again. Hold on. "So the basement is half-finished?" Luke asked as he opened the door in the kitchen leading down the narrow steps to the basement. Yeah, there's room for a washer and dryer set, which I'm not using. Looks like they put up walls for a rec room or maybe a media room. Then they stopped the framing and marked off where I think they intended to put 2 small bedrooms. And there's a storage room. We reached the bottom of the stairs and Luke did some more looking, shaking, and squinting at all the stuff in the basement. I considered telling him about my experience in the storage room, but I decided against it. Even though we're grown, I still feel the need to be the big sister. I wasn't going to admit that I was afraid to him. I wonder why they stopped finishing the basement, Luke said, checking the framework that still stood. I hadn't even thought of it before. Maybe they stopped working down here because they had seen the same figure that I had. I'd bought the house from the bank. I don't even know the previous residents or owners to ask. I don't know, maybe I'll have you finish it someday, I replied. You could flip this place, Ellie. Finishing these 2 bedrooms wouldn't take much with my help, and some DIY you could make a little profit. I was halfway back up the stairs when Luke walked over and opened the door to the storage room. I heard the same loud squeak and turned to watch him. Shit, Ellie, he said. My heart leapt up to my throat. My feet instinctively started running towards him to save him. I should have told him about the dark figure. You can't go all winter with this pitiful pile of firewood, he said disgustedly. I felt the blood return to my face. Nothing to panic over. My neighbor's got some for sale. I'll bring some by this weekend. What would you do without me? I turned to continue my ascent of the stairs and heard Luke shut the storage room door. Since you're here, I said, tossing him my newly purchased deadbolt lock, would you mind installing this for me here on the door to the basement? Sure, why here? The door doesn't fit quite right. It comes open sometimes on its own, I lied. Luke installed the deadbolt without questioning me again. After Luke's visit, I started to feel normal again. I tried to explain away what I had seen. Maybe it was my eyes playing a trick on me. I occasionally suffer from vertigo. Maybe my eyes just had some tunnel vision from going down the stairs too quickly. It threw off my equilibrium. Maybe by going down there already feeling a little afraid, I'd given my brain the go-ahead to imagine something scary. Luke had said that the electrical was a little shoddy. Maybe there'd been some kind of light malfunction. I thought more about what he'd said about finishing the bedrooms, making this 2-bedroom into a 4-bedroom, and make a little profit. If I moved away, I wouldn't have to worry about the dark, lightning bolt-covered figure that I may or may not have imagined. Luke did drop off some firework, like he said, and I had him stack it up on my porch. He didn't ask me why. The last of the leaves fell, and the 2 little trees in my front yard. I was the only house left on the street who hadn't raked up the leaves yet, and I was starting to get sour looks from my neighbors. I decided on Saturday that I couldn't put off the raking any longer. Without much fear, I loosened the deadbolt and went down to my basement. I opened the storage room, braced for the loud squeak, and retrieved my rusty old rake. My trip to the basement was successful. At the top of the stairs, I closed the door, latched the deadbolt. I raked up my leaves in the fall afternoon sun. Back in the kitchen I went, through the door, down the stairs. I had my hand on the knob to open the storage room door again, and that sick, creeping feeling came over me. Fear ran through me. My skin flushed, my muscles tensed. I could feel my heartbeat thumping against my chest, even with my ringing ears. I gave my surroundings a quick glance, but found nothing out of place or unusual. I persevered. I returned the rake to its place in the storage room. I looked around and found nothing scary or supernatural. I shut the door behind me as I exited. When I reached the top step of the only exit out, I saw it. At first, I only saw it out of the corner of my right eye. After 2 ragged breaths and exactly 0 blinks, I decided I needed to turn for a better look. I turned slowly. I could feel my fingernails threatening to break through my own skin from the force of my clamped fists. My skin prickled all over, and my stomach lurched. It was the same dark figure I had seen before, only no longer contained in the storage room. A nearly black body with red lightning bolt-like shapes all along it. It stood tall, taller than me. I could easily make out a head, neck, shoulders, torso, and arms. The thing had no legs. It was just floating there, still as my stopped heart. It was at the very end of the basement to my right, quite far away from me. I finally understood the true definition of petrified. Slowly and smoothly, the thing raised its fiery hands and made a hand gesture that looked like a traffic cop saying, "Stop." I did not stop. I ran. My brain finally resumed communication with my ice-hot body, and I ran up the basement steps. I slammed the door loudly, locked the deadbolt, and it was then I realized I had also been screaming. Stifling the scream, I grabbed my phone, car keys, and ran for my car. With the door slammed, keys in the ignition, I felt safe again. I didn't start the car, but instead let my head rest on my arm, pressed too tight against my steering wheel. 1,000 questions burned through my shock and fear. What is that thing? Why is it in my house? Have I lost my mind? I dialed Luke. I swallowed my pride like a hot stone and confessed to my little brother that I was scared. What is going on? He sounded keyed up already. Jesus is gonna sound stupid. Well, I was in my basement a couple weeks ago to get some firewood, I said. I heard a sigh from Luke. I saw a shape or a ghost or something in the storage room. There was silence on the other end of the phone. Luke, you there? I asked. Nothing. My phone beeped. Call lost. My hands shook, but I managed to start the car and drive to Luke's house. He called back, but I didn't answer. I was crying, and I needed to suck up the tears before I arrived. Both Luke's truck and his girlfriend Natalie's car were in the driveway. Fuck, of course, I yelled as I pulled in. I like Natalie, but I thought I was only going to have to be scared and embarrassed in front of my brother. I wiped my face, straightened my damp eyelashes, and checked the rearview mirror before exiting the car. Once I'd walked up the porch steps, his front door swung open. Natalie stood there, and Luke was seated inside, lacing up his boots. He stopped and kicked them back off again when he saw me. Ellie, what is going on? I was just ready to come and check on you. He was annoyed, but concerned. Come in, Natalie said, ushering me in. She's a sweet southern belle. I swear she always smells like cinnamon and sweet tea. I definitely look like a pale goth kid next to her golden tan and white sundress. I'm fine, We crossed into the living room and sat down. They both looked at me expectantly. I'm really spooked. I think I saw a ghost in my house. Twice. Same ghost, both times, I blurted. A laughing sound came from Luke. I folded over myself and buried my face in my hands for a moment. You're serious, Luke said. He was torn between laughing and telling me he was not going to fall for my bad joke. I know, it's stupid. Really, I know how this sounds. I told them the story. They both sat still and quiet. I told them how I'd first seen it in the storage room. I tried to tell myself it was a weird light bulb or my vertigo. Then I told them how I'd seen it again today, watching me from across the basement. When I got to the part where the thing raised its hands in a stop gesture, Luke scratched his chin and Natalie's eyebrows furrowed. That's when I ran outside to call you, and my phone died, I finished. I don't know what to say, Ellie, Luke said. I don't believe in ghosts or the supernatural type stuff. Well, if you're up for it, let's go back, me and you, and check your house out. He shrugged. His tone was muddled. I wasn't sure if he was trying to defuse a bomb or trying not to play pretend with a child. Yeah, that'd be great. Luke and I started for the door. Luke looked back at Natalie. I'll stay here, get your guest room sorted so Ellie can stay here, okay? I let Luke drive us in his truck. I'd already resigned to staying at Luke's tonight with or without Natalie's offer. So your vertigo's been all right? Luke asked, testing the waters. Yes, damn it, I growled. All right. He pumped his free hand at me and switched the radio off. No weed or anything? He practically whispered. Jesus, I haven't smoked weed since high school. That got a little grin out of him. It was weird having him look after me. I'm the big sister. As we pulled into my driveway, I tried and failed to remember another time that I had let him drive, his vehicle or not. I took several deep breaths and tried to steady my nerves. Luke was being nice today, and I was biting his head off at every opportunity. When we got into my house, I couldn't bring myself to let him go alone. Bardwell stick together. My knees quivered the whole way, but we crossed my house together. The deadbolt I had had Luke install was still locked, and the keys discarded on my kitchen table. You had me put in a lock to keep out a lightning demon thingy? He scooped it up and trolled it around his finger. My face went hot. I felt like a fool. Yeah, well, I've only seen it in the basement so far, so maybe it's working. I watched as my brother descended the staircase, my heart thumping louder than his boots against the wood. He paused for just a second between the last step and the concrete floor. He looked left, where I had seen the thing this evening. He looked right. He turned back to me and gave me a dramatic shrug. Well? I asked. Luke walked around forward to my storage room door. I had to step down the staircase because he was now out of my line of sight. I jumped when the door squawked open. After a sweep of the small room, Luke returned unscathed. Let's sit down here for a bit and see what happens, he said. We each claimed a step for a seat and just sat in the quiet. My brain buzzed along. Maybe it was my vertigo. It usually manifests itself as tunnel vision, but this could have been the opposite, where I'd lost the center of my vision first. Maybe it's the bad electrical wiring. Maybe there's a gas leak and I'm having hallucinations. Maybe I'm just losing my grip on reality. I anchored my elbow to my knee and rested my face in my hand. Luke got up and did a slow lap of the whole basement. He pulled a multi-tool out of his back pocket and tightened the faceplate of an outlet. He never could sit still. I peeled myself from my stare to check around for myself. Only Luke stood off to my left, nothing to my right. I peeked in the storage room and found nothing remarkable or supernatural. Luke booped buttons on his phone before asking if I would be okay to be alone for a second. He said he wanted to check in with Natalie. I nodded and sat on the steps again. I didn't feel afraid anymore. The thing is either gone or I imagined it to begin with. My house was silent other than the faint murmur of Luke's phone call upstairs. I wish Natalie hadn't been witness to this. Up until today, I had a reputation for being a moderately sane person. If she and Luke are going to stay together, I'd like us to be friends. After some moments, I realized Luke is no longer talking. I stop breathing to see if I can hear him upstairs. Panic comes quickly. All the little prickly hairs on me stand at attention. I can feel my eyeballs drying out, aching for a blink or two. I'm paralyzed. My heart says get up and run. My brain says stay, sit still, be quiet. Elle? Luke's voice comes down the stairs, shattering my reserve. I jump and scream before my brain can register that it was my brother's voice. Sweet God, don't do that to me, I barked. Sorry. He had his hand up like he was surrendering to me. I just told Natalie that we were okay and the house seems okay. He turned back to his phone and started scrolling along with his thumb. Do you think I'm crazy? I asked. My brother shook his head dismissively, never looking up. I didn't continue. I waited for his full attention. He noticed my silence and glanced up. I do not think you're crazy. He didn't even smirk. Well, what do you think's going on here? I started up the staircase. I'm not scared, but I'm not staying either. Luke put his arm up to block the rest of the staircase. I think you were mistaken.